Hello, everyone. I want you to help me welcome Dr. Ann Childers. I'm going to read her bio. She's a child, adolescent, adult psychiatrist and a former Air Force major. Thank you for your service, by the way. With a background in systems thinking and integrative medicine, she brings a unique perspective to the powerful connections between nutrition, sleep, and mental health. She has authored several medical textbook chapters and co-authored a scientific paper on low-carbohydrate diets. With a current focus on low-carb, nutrient-dense nutrition, Dr. Childers remains a dedicated advocate for the well-being of others, promoting lasting mental and physical health, as well as emotional resilience. And I just got to say, I did not go on the cruise, so I did not get to hear your talk. However, I have to give a big shout out to Andy and Michelle Ross Hall. Sorry, for bringing her to my attention. And thank you again, Dr. Childers, for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for your invitation.
There was no way I couldn't. And I'm going to be emotional, so it's going to be all right.
She's a softie.
Big time. But usually I go ahead and address the chat, but I want you to give some of your background. Obviously, other than what I just talked about, because there's more to it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Actually, if you want to start in the very beginning, I started out as a dog trainer.
Really? I have somebody in the chat that if she's not here yet, she will be, who is a dog trainer.
This is back in the 80s when we didn't know that much, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But I was one of the first people to start using B.F. Skinner, kind of like Psychology 101, 102, 103,
Right.
in the training building. So it was a lot of positive reinforcement. And the thing I noticed is that the dogs that were calmest and ready to learn were the ones that are eating and sleeping well. They were on good diets and they slept well. And so I think that's where I started using a more holistic approach, because I didn't actually get into med school till I was 33 years old.
Never too late.
Still call me doctor.
It's definitely never too late. And by the way, speaking about dogs, if you hear anything, we have a little one that walks around. He's very old, and he may bark.
I usually take him in the garage while she does her thing, but I'm here tonight instead, so he should be all right.
So he'll be all right. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, when I got into medical school, I started studying the usual medical school stuff and ended up getting into a fellowship for child and adolescent psychiatry while in the military. And I really like those systems approach to helping people, because people aren't in a vacuum. They've got work, they've got play, they've got home life, they've got spouses, often children. I mean, they're ensconced in a whole system. And so at that point, I started thinking, well, unless you do a more holistic look at someone, you're not really going to get very far. So I would look at people, at what their jobs were, whether their jobs were compatible with their personality, see if we could get them promoted to maybe a different job that's more compatible with their talents, things like that, right. As well as how are you eating, how are you sleeping, because my theory is you can't feel good on a diet of Pop-Tarts. You really can't.
Right.
There are a lot of things we eat now, ultra-processed foods, things like that the brain just doesn't agree with.
No. In fact, when Brian first started keto, tell her your story.
After falling off the ladder and everything else and breaking everything that I had, the 3 breaks, I had to retire from my job. I was supposed to work. I was deliver. I'd go out deliver the mail daily in a truck. I loved it. It was my dream job. I actually got something I wanted to do.
30 years
worth. And
thank you for your service.
Thank you. That was just it took me. Well, I had to stay. Once I broke my hand, both my feet, I had to stay on the couch for 3 months. I couldn't move. because being diabetic, I had 2 boots on the feet and I couldn't walk on them or anything. I mean, I scooted around the house, got through. But after that ended, and I was able to get up and around, had to retire, and this is my worst nightmare. I hated it. I sat around the house thinking, I can't do this. I can't go back. I wanted to go back, but the inevitable set in. It's not going to happen. So I spent quite a long time sitting outside with Max, our dog, on the stoop of our old house, just sitting there, depressed, sleeping all the time with him.
Yeah.
He left it out there, and I just took him outside, and we took a nap. So I
Now,
started keto after she did, about maybe 3 weeks after she started. And it wasn't long, but it was a little while after that. It's like the depression went away. I got back up. I wanted to get going again. It completely took it away. I was back to being me, back to doing the things I used to be able to do. I still can, but not like I do today. It's a little slower, but I was a pen maker. I made pens on the lathe, and I was back doing that. I was outside. I enjoyed it. So it does work. I really didn't have to lose weight. That was my issue. It does help. I've lost some. Don't get me wrong. I was up there a little bit, but even my blood sugars as a type 1 diabetic were at 7.9. I got them down to 6.
your A1C
A1C
was.
was.
Is A1C
Yeah.
7.9?
I got it down to 6.1. I'm at 6.6 right now and fighting with it. But, considering where I used to be, that was good. So,
Now,
it works.
before all this happened, I want you to know he was the most motivated, hyper, pretty much could not sit still. So after he went through all that and started getting depressed because he had to quit his job and all that stuff, it was like so totally out of the realm for him. When he got back, his motivation, it was like, thank goodness, because he was miserable and I could see it, but he never talked about it. He's a very quiet person overall.
I just
He
keep
really
things to
is.
myself.
I can ask him, and I do frequently, are you okay? Yeah, whether he is or not. He tells me, yeah, because he doesn't want me to worry. Well, it don't work. But but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I wanted you to get a little bit of his going from when you talk about mental illness, he was that really depressed person, and within weeks of starting keto, that just totally disappeared. And I've interviewed quite a number of people that I hear the same type of stories about their stories about depression and anxiety going away. And it's just so impressive.
Well, the evidence is coming in that refined carbohydrates, especially, but even things like oatmeal, can qualify as that because it is pretty refined, can actually cause trouble in the brain that can affect things like mood and anxiety. And there are more and more psychiatrists deeply interested in this research who are starting to apply low carb diets to their patients and getting results. And in my own practice, what I found is if I could get a child, adolescent, or adult to eat a keto breakfast and then eat normally the rest of the day, there was almost always some improvement, at least in appetite. Their appetite was better regulated throughout the day. But also many times they noticed they didn't have the mood swings. And we do know, my lecture on the ship was on using continuous glucose monitors. And I gave 100 of these monitors to my patients free of charge in exchange for their data. And what I found with my informal observation, it was not a formal study, but what I found with my informal observation is that these people would have ups and downs that seemed to correlate with what the monitor was picking up in terms of their glucose. And I was surprised. I thought I was going to see a lot of high blood sugar, but what I actually saw was a lot of low blood sugar. And these low blood sugars would come after a peak. So they would have, people would have these high peaks and then they would dive down. And that's kind of how it would go. And it would go like below what they started out at before they had the peak. And so by making these more level, people reported that they felt so much better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see him when he goes through his highs and lows, and he's on an insulin pump for his type 1. And it's like, we were just at his endocrinologist office yesterday, and she's telling him, tweak this number, and you should be able to avoid some of those. Because with his pump, if it goes up or it goes too low, it shuts off automatically. And then when it
Yes.
comes back on, then it goes high. And then he's got to bring it back down. And if it goes too low, it shuts off again. And it's just craziness.
It's difficult. Now, the people that I'm talking about were either, excuse me, they were either type 2
Mm-hmm.
pre-diabetic or not pre-diabetic, just
Right.
normal.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah, and I say this because your audience listening to this, if you have type 1, don't try this at home without supervision.
I know.
Well, they know. They know. We talk about it often.
That's
But,
great.
yeah. I want to go through some of the chat
Mhm.
to acknowledge who's here. Dustin is here. Good evening, friends. Brenda Jones, happy Friday, everyone. Amy, hello, everyone. Andy, my lady Laugh a Lot, I'm here early because I'm not missing this live stream. And thank you again, Andy. Lynn is here. And everybody's saying hello. This thing is going to jump on me eventually. I know it.
Like nothing like usual.
I know.
Just
Some of my
get back
favorite
to it.
people in here already. Yep. Dustin saying hi, Brenda. It's the busiest week. Zoo park, pickleball, pool. Yeah, it's hot out. I know people in this chat already hit the like button. Evelyn was on the cruise also.
Oh, yes.
Karen P., Florida Sunshine. Hello, friends. I'm glad you changed your name, Karen. Added your name in there. Nice to see you again, she said. Andy said, I know she's talking to you because, yeah. And you're Donna Ferris. Hi, everyone. Dustin, thank you so much for the super chat. Sending love to you, Cindy and Brian. Looking forward to hearing what Ann Childers has to say. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday. It's been all right. So happy to get the two of you together. I can't thank you enough, honey. Good evening, everyone. It's Brian. He usually comes on, eat your meat. And more hellos. This is Rick from New Hampshire. Saying, late, forgive me, I haven't worked a few days. He messes around. He comes in late all the time, and she tells him he needs a note from his mother. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Typically on Fridays, Brian doesn't join me, but there's a definite reason why this is happening the way it is. I thought for sure you were going to yell at me. I'm saying, hey. Hello, Sherry. I missed you coming in. I'm sorry. Hello. Jerry's here. Sorry I'm late. Thank you, Dr. Childers. Just going to highlight them real quick because there's a lot to discuss. Okay. I am caught up.
Okay.
So go ahead, Dr. Childers.
Oh, I'm not really sure where I left off. So I think I was just talking about my background.
You talked
Right.
about the background of the type 1 diabetes, type 2.
That's where he was.
Yes,
It was
yes,
with
that's
doing
where we
the
went.
study with your
Good
job,
patients.
Brian.
I'm sorry. I'm like, it was doing the non-formal study with all your patients.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
anybody's in the
that I
chat type
found.
1, don't take this advice.
Yeah, don't try this at
She
home.
makes me rewind my brain once in a while.
Yeah. Somebody has to. Mine gets a little blah, blah sometimes.
Yeah, all I was saying is that I saw more low blood sugars than high, And I was surprised to see that. But when I did see the high blood sugars, they were pretty stunning. And also the symptoms that people complained of with high blood sugar was, to just sum it up, basically brain fog. That would be probably the easiest way to say it. I called it cognitive disorder, not otherwise specified, which is a fancy way of saying I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Now, I
these
have a
were
question
coming
about
from-
these people that did your study that had suffered that had the hypoglycemic episodes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Did any of them have in their past gastric bypass?
Oh, yes, I did have some patients that did have gastric bypass.
Now,
And
the reason I
referred,
asked,
yeah.
I had that in
Oh,
2007,
okay, yes.
and I researched until I found out. I researched Dr. Google. God help me.
Mhm.
Low blood sugars after gastric bypass surgery, because it was like 2 years after my surgery I started getting them.
Mhm.
And it came up with hyperinsulinemic hypoglycemia,
Mhm.
which
Wow.
if I eat too many carbs and not enough protein, it causes that raise and an instant drop.
Mhm.
That's why I asked. In the blog that I found, it says people have suffered brain damage,
Mhm.
the loss of their pancreas, so many different things. And this is just for YouTube world. This is not medical advice. This is my experience and Dr. Childers' experience with her study, informal study,
Mhm.
not any way deemed medical advice for anybody. But that's why I was asking, because it's so
Mhm.
prevalent in the patients that have had gastric bypass.
Yes. Well, yes, but that was an area where I felt I was a little bit out of my league. So I
I could have
definitely,
helped you out
because
there.
some of these people had, I'm sorry,
I said, I could have helped you out there.
you could have, yes. So and some of these people had dumping syndrome, where their stomachs would suddenly let loose with all the material into the small intestine that's not ready to accept it,
Yep.
and things like this. So I really ended up referring these people back to their bariatric surgeons and support staff, because a lot of them also had low iron, they were depressed, they weren't absorbing their nutrients.
Yep.
It was pretty, it's something I couldn't really help them with.
Right. But
But
we
the other,
could have a discussion sometime if you would like that,
I would
because
love that.
of
Yeah.
all the information that I was told prior to having the surgery,
Hmm.
one of the things was you're going to have to supplement the rest of your life because you're not going to be able to absorb the vitamins from your food no matter how you eat.
Hmm.
So that's why there's malabsorption there if they're not taking daily supplements.
Exactly. No, and I knew that because I studied up,
Yeah.
but I never felt really comfortable managing that kind of a complicated patient
Oh,
in that way,
it was
right?
crazy. But
Yeah.
anyway, now
So,
I noticed, and we haven't brought it up,
uh-huh.
I noticed the movement. I saw a clip of your talk on a cruise
Hmm.
where you talked about you have dystonia, which is what right away brought you to the forefront for Andy thinking about Brian.
Uh-huh.
And we talked backstage, and there is definitely not enough awareness about dystonia out there.
Hmm.
There's plenty of awareness about Parkinson's. When I looked up dystonia when he was first diagnosed, the first thing it showed Parkinson's, and I freaked out. His uncle had Parkinson's,
Yeah.
and I'm like, holy cow! And it says symptoms are similar, but they're not exactly the same.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay. Well, I kept reading, and just everything that you all can take it from here, because you said you were diagnosed when?
Around 2012.
So before, and you started on the ketogenic way of eating way before that.
2006. Yeah.
So when you're asked if that can help with dystonia.
It hasn't for me, but I think for some people, my understanding is for some people dystonia is inherited, and so and I've also read various aspects of it. Some say spinal cord, some say it's in a nest of cells in the brain called the basal ganglia, and some say it starts out in the spinal cord and ends up in the basal ganglia. So I'm not sure that we have a very clear picture, but I'm not a neurologist.
Right.
I
Did
can
you ever
just
have any accidents or anything when you were younger?
no, but sometimes I joke that I was born in accident. I have a this is, I have very loose joints,
Mm-hmm.
you see. And so what may have happened, because a lot of us that have loose joints, I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I'm elderly, so I'm in the stiff phase, and yet I'm still pretty loose, even though I'm
Elderly, like in, if you don't mind,
70s.
70-ish? Is
Yeah,
that what you said? 70-ish?
70s, early 70s. Yeah,
Yeah, my sister is 70. I am 67.
gotcha.
Brian is
Okay,
63.
gotcha. Okay, so you're just younglings.
You're fine. You are fine. We actually bowl with a lady that's 78 years old.
That's so cool.
And there's one lady on one of the leagues in her 90s still
Huh?
bowling. It's impressive.
That's wonderful.
But anyway,
Hmm.
Well,
So
sorry. Go ahead.
yes, go ahead.
I am back when I was in my teens. I actually was in the car with my mother and it was foggy out one day, making a left hand turn to McDonald's before going to get my father from work, and it was late. We couldn't see anything. The guy had no lights on his car. Well, he
Uh-huh.
broadsided us, and my left, I was on the right behind my mother, the driver, and my head hit the window. So for
Oh,
for quite a while, I actually walked.
oh,
My head was on my
yes.
shoulder, it was tilted over.
Uh-huh.
Had to go see a doctor. About 45 minutes way up in another town up in Concord. I take
So
a bunch
you
of
were kind of
doctors.
leaning like this
Yeah,
all
big
the
time.
way
Worse,
down.
worse now.
all the way down. Yes,
And
yes.
I had to go learn how to relax. They gave me a little. It's like a mouse, but I had to put my fingers on the metal bars, and you could hear the whining. I had to shut the whining off. It took me a while to get used to that. After a while, I think it did work and went away. But as I got older, and he was when we met in 2004, I had she said I had a twitch, and I would have a problem looking to my right or my left.
To the right.
Head to the right, but it would feel actually come along, and it would go away. Like not days, maybe a couple hours. And then after a while, it was getting progressively worse. It would last for a couple of days,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't bad. It was just a little, little twitch, and that was the beginning of it. And whether that car accident had anything to do with it, I don't know. But it was weird. But it just kept getting worse till we had a party at the house, and we had our family over, and another family that was another grandchild of ours that was in another family, and we
Gotcha.
were playing horseshoes, and I couldn't stop. After
Mm-hmm.
that was it. That was the last time I actually held my head perfectly still for a while. It just didn't end, and that's when we knew I had a problem. At that point, I looked at her, I said, "I gotta go find somebody. I couldn't deal anymore." So
Yeah.
we actually went, saw a doctor. They sent me to a what the heck is that? The shot?
Neurologist.
No, yeah, neurologist, but I was getting the shots.
A neurologist
Yeah, but I
office.
can't remember the
Mm-hmm.
shot name.
She was getting
Botox. I was getting Botox
Botox
shots in the neck,
injection.
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't help. It didn't help.
Gotcha.
In fact, it made my neck swell up, so it was getting hard to swallow, which is what they told me could happen.
Uh-oh.
So
Okay,
after that,
gotcha.
we started
Yeah.
looking around, and
Mm-hmm.
then we found who the chiropractor had told me, if I work on you, I could actually hurt you. And that's when he said what I had, and I was like, "Oh my word!" We found a doctor, and went from there. But it's it's a hard disease. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was telling you off stage, it's just I don't give in. I refuse to give in, because if you
Yes.
give in, You might as well just sit on the couch and waste your life away. And I refuse to do that. That's not me. I don't complain about it too often. She
Mm-hmm.
saw me the other day. I lost it the other day. It happens. I mean, we were at the bowling alley one day, and I was ready to throw a ball. I said, "What's the matter?" I just started crying. I said, "I can't take this. I'm having a hard time." It took about 10 minutes. I got back up. I said, "Move your butt. Move your butt. It's not going to end. Get back up and do something." And I started bowling again. I felt better. But, it's my release point. And it's very rare, but it happens. But for the most part, I'm a happy guy. I just find ways around it. If I can't do it one way, if I'm working on something, I'll step back, take a break, and then maybe 5-10 minutes later, I say, "Why don't you try it this way?" And I can actually do it better. It's like, "Ooh, I found a situation where I can make it work."
Yes.
Because I do a lot of things. I make pens on a lathe. I used to. It requires head looking down, which is half my problem. If I'm looking down, it gives me an issue. If I look up, I'm pretty good
Mm-hmm.
for most of the part. But I do woodworking, around table saw and stuff. And she's paying. I'm like, relax. I said, if my head's twitching, I ain't gonna do anything. And
Mm-hmm.
I've
Oh,
also
when he gets the saw out, all I can see is him shaking his head and that saw going right over his fingers. I'm like,
Oh
Well,
oh,
dear.
the thing I
Yeah,
have
that's
is I have a
irritating.
saw stop. It's a
Yeah.
table saw. When you put a hot dog on it, it'll stop it. It acts as your finger. So if my finger hits it, the blade's gonna drop. It's gonna shut right down. So I'm not paying it that way. But it's just I'm not stupid. I'm smart enough to know when to give it up, when to take a break,
Mm-hmm.
step back.
okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what you have to do.
Yep.
Now,
You
what
know?
has your experience since you were diagnosed been, other than the twitching, obviously?
Oh, it's gotten worse. It's just gradually gotten worse. It started to involve my right arm now. But I was thinking back to what you said, Brian, about being this way. I
Yeah.
remember when I was in the Air Force in about year 2000, I would do this and salute.
Hmm.
Wow.
And I'd ask myself, I wonder why I'm walking with my head like this.
Yeah.
This is really weird. And then later I found out that's torticollis, and I tend to have a torticollis that brings my head to the right and then to the back. And I did try Botox also, but I didn't have the swallowing problem that you had, but what I had was what's called a head drop, where if I bent over to turn on the fireplace, I'd have to push my head up.
Huh.
Oh no.
Jeez.
And I thought,
Wow.
I don't know that this is worth it. I
Yeah.
might try it again, maybe at a much lower dose, but because it did do some good. But what I was about to tell you is that with Ehlers-Danlos, which is what I have a joint hypermobility disorder, whatever you call it. You can call it Ehlers-Danlos. So some people don't have that diagnosis, but they still have the problem because of what happens is the in order for your limbs to know where they are in space, the joints have to be together. And because the joints are kind of pulled apart
Yeah.
in Ehlers-Danlos, they're not really connecting. Then a lot of times the brain is making some guesses about where the head is in space. And so the spinal cord at first uses some, what should I say, some reflexes. It goes back and forth from spinal cord to head to the strap muscles in the neck, trying to figure out how to keep the head steady. And after a while, it kind of gives up and the head just starts moving unless you disable the muscles that are confused.
Yeah.
Right.
Confused muscles on this side of the head. And then there's some uh, information that I read that says then again, then the brain starts getting into the act, and then sometimes those little basal ganglia get involved as well. That might be how it started. I don't know.
Wow.
Um, oh, I
Yes,
just received
Evelyn.
something from Evelyn here.
I
Hi,
just
Evelyn.
found out that both my youngest daughter and I have Ehlers-Danlos
Oh,
syndrome.
my.
She was diagnosed, and the doc turned to us as parents and said, "Which one of you can do this?"
Get a hold of me, Evelyn. We got to talk.
I do
Yeah,
have your Instagram in the
great,
description.
great. Yeah, because I have just a whole bunch of places that I can guide people who are confronting this because this is kind of a steep learning curve.
Right.
But there's a lot of support out there if you just know where to find it. And I would say, Evelyn, congratulations. That was a brilliant move, finding out what the deal is, because I know in my family, um, people who know what it is can get prepared to get lots and lots of resources and help for it.
So what was one of the symptoms?
Loose joints. That's probably the beginning. Uh, there's a scoring system called the Beighton. It's called Beighton. It looks like it should be Baton because it's B plus spelling 8, like the number, and then ON. But it's called Beighton scale. And that's the beginning of the screening for joint hypermobility.
Well, I know he doesn't have that. He's as stiff as anything. He doesn't have the mobility in his hands whatsoever.
Uh-huh. But yeah, this isn't the only way one gets dystonia, but it is a big population of people, probably 20% of the US population, 20 to 30, that may have this and may be more prone to dystonia.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's popping up. People just don't. It's like when I first started, kind of ignore it till it's too late. And if I can say anything to anybody, if you think you got something wrong, get to the doctor, because the quicker the better you get help. It may prolong the worsening of it as you go along.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, I held off for the longest time, didn't say anything about it, but that's his life.
He's one stubborn dude. He don't want to go to the doctor at all.
I think you're courageous and stoic as well. You might be stubborn. I know I am, but you may be courageous and stoic as well. I just hope that you're getting the help that you need.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm gonna have my battery replaced for the 2 eyes in my head on the 30th of this month. And when I made the appointments, because this was getting worse and I couldn't get any better, I'm like, all right, time to go see her. And she already knew before I got there. They were looking at dates to get it done. I was like, wow, they could see the battery had on my little meter that I have at the office. She's like, yep, I expected you. I'm like, nice. I'm like, I didn't even know that when I forgot to look at the battery.
So, right. It was down to like hundredths of a percent before it was getting ready to tell him time to change the battery.
2 days later, the little thing came on the screen. Oh, by the way, time to change the battery. I'm like, okay, all set.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to get a new system. I've got the Abbott
a new battery.
But I have the Abbott system. I'm going to Boston Scientific, and they said they could hook up the wires where I can probably get a few more areas taken care of a little bit. They're hoping, there's no guarantees. At this point, any help is good. As long as I keep standing up and keep going, I'll keep my best. I mean,
all right. The good thing that the battery is now, like you said, is through Abbott. It was replaced 2.5 years ago, and it's due to be replaced. The one he's getting on the 30th of July of this month is a rechargeable that shouldn't need replaced for 15 years.
Well, it could go 15 years depending on how much power.
That's why I said shouldn't.
So, if it gets worse, it won't. But even then, that's longevity is a lot better. I don't have to go to the hospital every 2 years to get cut up and, put another one in. So I can do that. But, I mean, once you accept it, I think that was my biggest thing is I accepted that I didn't worry about it. It's not going to change. It gets worse, and just deal with it. It's nobody's fault. I don't put any blame on it. We go outside and she watches people and they look at me kind of strange. She's like, I hate that. I'm like, I don't care. I said, I don't care what they're looking at me. And the biggest thing I look around is I look at other people. You don't know what they have. You can be perfect. Somebody's got some issues, I'm thankful I'm not in a wheelchair. I have both legs, both my hands. I can walk. I can talk. I can do things myself. I'm not confined. I'm blessed beyond belief to be this far, because I look at them and I feel so bad for them. That's when I look up and I go, I have nothing wrong with me. I do, but I have nothing wrong with me in that area, so that's what keeps me going, I really feel blessed
Yeah.
because of that. So, that's something else you got to look at. As you look around, you have no idea what somebody has, whether they're
Mhm.
walking fine or they're in a chair. You really have no idea what they're going through, and people have to think about that, before they open their mouth and say, "Well, what's your problem? How come you're doing this? You can't do that."
But we've
You
had
don't know. You don't know. You don't want to know.
I get so protective of him. Like he said, people will stare all the time, and it makes me crazy. It doesn't bother him.
Yeah.
It makes me absolutely crazy. And I'm like we were bowling one day, and we bowled against this team where this guy just used to run his mouth all the time about everything.
Mhm.
Well, he had a decent day. He'd never we
Mhm.
bowled normal bowling. He's from
Mhm.
New England where it was candlepin bowling, and it was, but this kind he wasn't used to.
Mhm.
And it was our first season
Yeah.
of bowling. I
Yeah.
had taken like a 20-year hiatus to cure my knees and get rid of my back arthritis and a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
When we started, this man sat there and he kept making comments because Brian was having a good game.
Mhm.
It's all handicapped. That's going to take away from them being able to win, first of all, because he's doing so well. And he just kept making comments. And finally, I said, you know what? You have no idea what this man goes through.
Mhm.
And I said, I would appreciate it if you just let him have a good day without all the BS that you're spewing out of your mouth.
Mhm.
And I had it. I just like, what do I?
Hmm.
And one of his teammates said, I don't know what all happened, but he only kids around. I said, I don't care.
Mhm.
You don't talk down about somebody. I don't care how you're doing it, especially when you don't know the person, you don't know about that person.
Mhm.
Oh, I was angry. I was so angry.
I can understand that, but have you ever heard of that thing where people can't stand hearing somebody chewing? I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called like misophonia, things like that. I don't know what was going on with the guy that you just talked about, but I do know that there is a percentage of the population that also has a little hard time concentrating when they see someone's head moving. And I've seen that. And it is
Mhm.
bothersome to them.
Oh, no,
So,
this guy just talks crud all the time, all the
oh,
time.
that's just kind of how he rolls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's just
I
annoying.
mean, she told me about it. I said, I didn't even hear him. I wasn't listening to him. I said, I was just having a good day. I was letting go of the ball. That's
But
all
yeah,
I was here for, just to
there
have
was
fun.
there was
You
no
know,
comment
you
about
know.
his movement.
Uh-huh.
But for me personally, knowing what he goes through and to have a good day, I had just enough of his just, ranting
Hmm.
because they were losing.
Gotcha. Well, I had a really good mentor in a way,
Mhm.
even though, um, oh, I just got Rockin' Keto Amy wants to know, and do you have a brain implant like Brian, if you don't mind sharing? And I don't mind sharing, and I don't have one. But if I needed one, I'd sure look into it for
I'll tell
sure.
you,
Yeah,
it's been miraculous for him.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
just
think.
so you know, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's been a whole life change
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was
for what
20.
it would be now
Yeah.
without it. And when I see it when it's turned off, like we said backstage, he cannot walk,
Mhm.
and this
Wow.
man can do everything.
Yeah.
It might take him a little bit longer. He may
Hmm.
need to take breaks in between,
Hmm.
but he can do anything.
And it's only been 6 years. I had it in 2019. I had that done. So,
Hmm.
it works for the most part. And like you said, it's not a cure, but even eating the way we do as a keto diet isn't isn't helping. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't. I was hoping for a little bit of help. Something would have been good, but it's not a cure for everything. It's just you have to give it a shot. But even that way of eating is I'm better off for it than I am eating the other stuff. You
Mm.
know, it's
More ways than
more
one.
ways
Your
than one. Yeah,
diabetes, for
diabetes
one.
is the main goal right now. That's another struggle, but that's that can be a nightmare.
I tell you, since him and I met 21 years ago,
Hmm.
his A1C was 17.
Well.
He was so
Yeah.
out of control. He had lost his wife 2 years previous to cancer.
Oh,
They had a 10-year-old daughter when his wife died. So for 2 years before we met, he was working, taking care of his daughter, and stress and life, and a sucky life at the moment for him. Things happen, and he wasn't disciplined at all, obviously, about his food intake. After we met, it started going down a lot. And then when we moved from New Hampshire in 2021, we had met in 2003.
Yeah.
So 18 years, it had gotten down to 7.9, and it's now about 6.6.
Gotcha.
And it's just, now back to his dystonia. The only medication he takes, which may or may not help,
Yeah, it's baclofen, and that's,
baclofen.
I don't know if it does or not, but I do take it. So
Can you tell the days that you haven't taken it? That's the way to find out.
no, there's people that actually have what we have, and it's actually painful, very painful, and not got that. I have no pain because of it, but it's supposed to be a muscle relaxer, but
Yes.
the battery I think is what's killing me, is because it slowly gets power, So I'll get a new battery off. I don't see if that changes. Maybe I'll get a little better. That's all I can hope for.
Yeah.
Yeah, pain is a problem with dystonia, and I think mine started in my shoulders, and, after a while, because I have such loose joints, it's really hard to hold my head upright anyway.
Mhm.
So then you get the muscle spasms, and that, I think, is for me the most painful part.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm fortunate that I don't seem to need anything quite yet.
Yeah.
For pain, really, except that I do rely on a couch or like a back, to hold my head up.
Yep.
If I can hold my head up, I'm usually pretty comfortable. But if I can't, then I have to find other ways to do it, like with my
Like
brain.
that.
Just
This is what he does all day, all day.
yeah,
It's like,
I
and
do that.
he started that when he first started with movement.
Mhm.
And I tried one of those foam neck collars,
Mhm.
and he's like, I can't do that. I can't. It was driving him crazy. So he couldn't do
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, all right. But he just got comfortable with this, or he's like this, or like this,
Yeah, you'll see me with my hand
or
like
like
this
that.
quite a bit. Yeah, and I have my chair has arms that turn in, and it's really easy for me to do this.
Now
But
you showed me something backstage that you can control it.
oh yes, actually, but I can't walk around like this all the time. Look at
Right.
this. Isn't this just the best?
It's amazing.
I know.
It's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It turned off because these strap muscles are now no longer engaged in
Right.
trying to get my head up. So
That is
but
so wild. I don't
if I
think
could
I've
walk
noticed
around like
anything like
this,
that with you.
I'd have to walk around like this.
Yeah. It's like, hello.
No.
Yeah. If I turn my
Whatever
head
you
sideways,
gotta
it stops. Yeah.
Do what?
If I turn my head sideways, everything stops.
Wow.
It's like it's not there, but
You're
I
muted.
can feel a little tightness. But that's about it.
Hold up. You muted yourself. There's a microphone there. You just got to click on the microphone at the bottom. I can't do it. There's a picture of a microphone that has a line through it. If you click on that, you'll unmute. We lost her sound. I don't think I can do it for her. We can't hear anything because you're muted. I don't know if I could do it. Unmute. Can't unmute your guest. Their mic isn't working.
How about now?
Okay, you're
Perfect.
back.
Perfect. Yeah,
The problem
your
is I
mic
can't hear
muted.
you, so I'm going to have to go back to my sound system.
Oh, you're good.
Let me see
Right where it
here.
is now, you're good.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're
It's
fine.
okay. Happens, people.
Technology stinks sometimes. No, it's good the way it is. We can all hear you.
All right. Can you say something?
Can you hear me? Just unplug your earbuds.
Is there something else I can stream this to your audience?
Um,
Not that.
can you hear me?
Oh, dear.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Call?
Yeah, call me.
Oh, dear. I am so sorry. I'm not sure how
You're
to
fine. You're
solve
fine.
this problem. Oh,
I'm going to find her number. Here it is.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. 503381978. It's not available.
Hello.
hello.
Now, this is going to sound like double here. Did you have your earbuds plugged into your laptop?
I did, and then they cut out.
Okay. Did you have something plugged into them? All right. How about
If you can hear me okay,
I can't?
just muted my microphone,
Yeah, they're not going to hear you in the chat.
but they're not going to hear me. Okay.
So let me think about this. How this? No, we don't want to do that. Settings. Okay, at the bottom of your screen, go to the settings button. Sorry, guys. There's double.
Settings? Okay.
Settings and then audio
Yes.
and then enable for your laptop.
How's that? How's that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, we
I
can
hung
hear
up
you.
the phone. So
Yeah.
Good job. All right.
yeah, I don't ever use earbuds because of that.
Yeah,
If they die, then it's crazy, but it's not a problem. No problem.
so sorry.
So you answered this. You do not have the implants.
Yes.
Evan said, yes, I will reach out. Thank you. As a child, they also always said I was double jointed, but we went researching it because my daughter was having health problems because of that mixed with POTS.
I have POTS also. Yeah.
And
So,
this is Sherry. She's the one I told you was a dog trainer.
oh, yes.
She forgot about
Hi,
the live
Sherry.
stream. She was messaging me, and I said, I'm on the live stream.
Very cool. Do you
And
have
if you don't mind
difficulties
me,
winding down, relaxing, sleep? Yes, I do. Okay, but I have a trick. I have a few tricks, actually.
Mhm.
One of the things that I do is I'll use those earbuds to
Mhm.
listen to something really boring. Like if somebody's reading the dictionary, I'm all about it. Just find something I've heard before 1,000 times. Or there's this one thing on YouTube. It's like history for sleep, where they drone on and on about history.
That would be boring.
And that works. But another thing that I do, and I have my doctor compound this for me. And you need to talk to your doctor about this to see if you're a candidate for this, because this can cause weight gain. So I just warning you right now. And it is a psychotropic med, but there is a medication called mirtazapine, and mirtazapine can be compounded by a compounding pharmacy to 1 milligram. Now, mirtazapine is usually used for things like poor appetite or depression, which often has poor appetite, things like this, and also to help with mood. And it usually takes 15 milligrams, 30 milligrams, but I have the compounding pharmacy reduce it to 1 milligram.
Did
And
you
I will
take
tell
that?
you that the vast majority of
Thank
my
you for that.
patients do really well on mirtazapine, just 1 milligram.
It
And this
seems
is
like that might be something that they tried with him
Yeah,
and it didn't work. There were so
there
many.
were too
well,
many that
mirtazapine. If you take too much of it, you will curse my name that I ever even mentioned it,
Mhm.
because you might fall asleep while you're trying to take care of your kids. So no. But if you get the thing is, at higher doses, it doesn't tend to make people sleepy, but at very, very, very low doses, it does. And that 1 milligram is just enough to keep most people asleep and give them a nice, bright, awake day the next day. So,
Yeah. Well, I have to say, he's never had any problem sleeping.
mhm.
For him in general, as soon as his head hits the bed, he's out.
Because
He is
when
out.
I can fall asleep sitting up in the chair, standing up against the
Excuse me.
wall. It's like
Mhm.
if the eyes go, I'm done. I'm out. Good night. Doesn't
He's
bother me.
he's now on a CPAP because he was the
Well, I'm on
worst
CPAP.
snorer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on CPAP
Yeah.
as well.
that's
That
like
sometimes goes with Ehlers-Danlos as well as sleep disorders, CPAP.
interesting.
But I was going to mention, on the heels of talking to Evelyn, I had said something like Ehlers-Danlos, 20 to 30% of the population. Not true. What I should have said is joint hypermobility. Having some kind of a joint hypermobility is probably 20 to 30% of the population. We tend to have the same other things as well, like the POTS, the mast cell activation syndrome, which is, getting hives, getting lots of allergies, things like that, having trouble standing up for long periods of time. And of course, all the things that go with having joint hypermobility, like poor proprioception in the neck, in the legs, ankles, feet, things like that. So
Wow.
anyway, so I want to make sure I correct that.
There's Jerry telling Sherry that you were a dog trainer too.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
insulin, the
insulin, the
keto
keto diet.
diet is helping your diabetes.
I think
Yep.
that's probably for you, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Evelyn telling Sherry she's not mad for being late. Amy said she took baclofen for her trigeminal neuralgia before my brain surgery.
Oh, okay.
Not very mad in that way. I think I just need to set reminders so I don't miss important lives like this one. Sherry, you're the best. Local regal sitting that way.
Well, thank
That's
you.
great. It was like, got to think of the good things out of a bad situation.
Mhm. Yep,
We're doing the same thing, Sherry.
true.
Is that your photo pose so you're not blurry? That's interesting.
Oh, is that my?
That's for you.
Oh, okay. It's just basically to support my head so my neck doesn't have to work so hard.
Yeah, but that's a good thought.
Yep.
when you
But
get
that
your
is a
photos
good photo
taken.
pose. It is, Gary. But something I wanted to say too is that I had a really good mentor, and I didn't realize that she was my mentor until all of this happened. And she is a psychiatrist who's board certified in pathology, hematology, oncology, and psychiatry, all three. And she has cerebral palsy and has had since she was born. And it's affected her ability to walk and her ability to talk. And, I have to say, I'm really grateful for having known her because she showed me what it's like to have a what should I say, a good sense of humor, also to be self reflective and to show dignity and to still be an achiever no
Yep.
matter what happens.
Well, that's
Yeah.
where his brain's been at since the beginning.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
mean,
that's what I was thinking of,
I
Brian.
admire him more than anybody could ever understand. When I
Mhm,
watch him do things, it amazes me.
mhm. Yep.
You just, like I said, life goes on. You got to deal with it. Just try and do the best you can
Yeah,
and ignore it.
it's
Mhm.
true.
As for sense of humor,
Uh,
I'm out there. I'm out there. I'm a Looney Tunes freak, and I just every once in a while she just looks at me and shakes her head. She goes, "No." I'm like, "Yep, yeah." I also working at the post office 30 years. We worked inside
oh, yes.
the carriers. We were like, innuendos like this, snap, 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 and we would let them go real fast. And we had more fun than we actually worked some days. We got yelled at once because we were making too much noise and having too much of a good time laughing. Professor came back. She says, "You guys have to shut up." We're like, "What?" She says, "They think there's a party back here." We're like, "Bring them back, bring them back. We'll have more fun."
Yeah,
We're like,
where the
"Geez, yeah."
carriers are trying to
There was
wait
no
on the
room. Yeah.
customers. They
There was no wall.
couldn't
You could
hear
hear
'em.
everything. We were having a ball. It was like, "Dang, get shut down for having fun."
Well, there's IQ and then there's EQ. And EQ actually is, if you had to choose between the two, a high EQ and a high IQ, a high EQ will get you further in life. And you must have a high EQ. That's emotional quotient. It
Yeah,
means you relate well to other people.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's I don't want to brag, but back when I was doing my job,
Hmm.
I treated people the way I wanted to get treated.
Hmm.
Um, I went out of my way, and I seriously mean went out of my way and did things I wasn't supposed to do on my job.
Hmm.
There was at the end of my route that I got a new route after about 16 years. I traded from one to another for more money and 5 days a week instead of six, and
Whatever.
I had to get out of the truck and walk pretty much all the streets because they were placing the sewer lines. They were all older people, elderly people. They couldn't get out. Their mail wasn't getting delivered, and I wasn't going to put them through the aggravation of trying to get out of the mud puddles in the middle of winter, and drive up the street in that garbage. So I just walked it. I just stopped and walked about 3 houses, came back. That's who I am. I loved it. That's
Yeah.
I just went out of my way, and
Hmm.
I've always been like that. If somebody needs help, I'm there. I'm not always useful, but I can at
Uh-huh.
least hold things and help.
That's not true.
Well, yeah,
You will
there's certain
bend
things I
over
can
backward
do.
to help anybody, whether it hurts you in the end or not. And that's how he is.
But
But
I think
yeah.
that's that EQ.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You go the extra mile for people because you
Oh,
care.
yeah,
when he was a carrier, like he was talking about, I
Mhm.
know there were times he'd be home, he'd come home, he'd say, "Well, these people went on vacation. They gave me the code for their garage to put the packages inside the garage." And, they trusted him because he treated them so well.
Yeah.
And I mean, they rewarded him like you wouldn't believe at Christmas time. Our carrier,
I'm not surprised.
I wouldn't give our carrier the time of day. I mean, this guy is like, he's so uncaring and everything.
Mhm.
Brian, I mean, his postmaster would call him if a
Mhm.
customer called asking about a certain package. Even if it was weeks later, he could tell you where he left it,
Mhm.
the day he left it,
Mhm.
and what it looked
everything,
like, what it looked like.
everything.
Yep.
Wow.
It was just
Well, it
impressive.
was a memorization job. The memory was there, and I just photographic. I knew. She didn't even want me to leave when I had no choice. She was hoping I'd come back. She said, "I can't lose you." I said, "I can't do it." I said, "I can't. I'd love to, but I can't."
Well,
But,
when it got to be
it's,
the dystonia was getting so bad, it affected his driving, and
Oh,
his whole job was driving.
yeah.
Because he was a rural carrier. When he said he got out and walked, that was very rare.
Mhm.
But if there was any kind of construction going on, he didn't think twice to make sure these people got their mail.
Mhm.
He would be out walking the route and dropping it off. It
Yeah.
was like, but yeah,
the driving part. I don't do it too often. It's rare. I can do it, but it has to be a real good day, and I know when I can and when I can't.
Mhm.
There was one day we actually parked at Walmart parking lot. She couldn't get into the car because there's no room to open the door.
somebody
The guy parked
parked
so
like
close.
right next to me.
She's like, "I can't do
Oh,
this.
wow.
I can't climb over this." So like the old post office, when I used my own car. I climbed over the stick shift, and we got an automatic, but I climbed over that little hump in the middle, got the driver's seat, back over. She got in the car, drove down to Lowe's. It was not far, maybe a quarter mile. So I still can drive, but it's not too often.
Gotcha.
It's rare. It's rare. But
One day we were on a
that's the biggest thing I miss. It really is, because I love to drive, and I think that's what killed me the most. And it still bothers me,
other
but
than
I
having
also
to quit your job.
but I
Yeah.
also know that I'm better off not doing it, because I could really hurt somebody, if not just me myself, but somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Worth it. It's not worth
No,
it.
I hear you. No, I've actually thought about this quite a bit, and I finally bought an electric car because it doesn't exactly self-drive, but it has what's called assisted cruise control.
Yeah.
So it can do a lot for me, but there may come a time where,
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
have
far
Please
enough
hold.
along yet where
Yeah.
I can't drive, but I think, if that time comes, I want to have as much assistance as possible.
Right.
mean,
I mean, we don't have an electric car,
No, but we
but
got
our
the
vehicle,
lane control, and it's got the if there's a car in front of you, it'll slow you up. So it's got
Uh-huh.
those motions, but it's
everything.
still,
If you have it set on cruise and you're getting too close to the car in front of you, it automatically slows you down.
Yes, that's what mine does.
Yeah.
If you try to change lanes without a turn signal, it will not let you do it.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
fights you tooth and nail.
Mhm.
If you hit the line, it'll pull you back.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, so much. It's
Yeah.
like it's
I
crazy.
mean, I just saw there's a car, and I don't know who makes it, but if there was an emergency, like you passed out or something, the car will actually slow down, and it will pull yourself. If you're in the pilot lane, it will put the directional
Oh,
on,
wow.
and you go to the other side to the breakdown lane and stop on its own, which is like, holy mackerel, how do you do that? It's like, but they have them out now, but
Yeah, like
it just
$1 million
yeah,
maybe.
probably, but
Wow.
it's just
That's something.
yeah,
It's wild.
it's
It
amazing
is.
what they have. Technologies out there, but nothing's perfect either. So
Mhm.
It's like I'm getting ready to go the first week of October to Texas for a bowling tournament with a friend of mine.
Mhm.
She's picking me up, so the car is here for him in an emergency.
Mhm.
I will be a nervous wreck till the day I get home
well, it's
because
actually in August, not October, so it'll be 5 days after I have the surgery
yeah, that
she's
might be
leaving.
not
So it's
too
like
good.
I'll be fine. It's just it's a small scar. It's not big, and they just said not to lift 5 pounds. I'm like, all right, I'm good.
No, I
But
know
yeah,
you'll be fine here.
she'll
I'm
be
saying if
panicked.
you decide
She'll
to
be
get in the
panicked.
car, my heart's gonna, our ring camera will show if that car moves.
Oh, I'm going for a joyride. Who you kidding? Max and I go for a ride.
Well, you said it's not perfect, and mine isn't perfect either, at least for me, because my eyes are sometimes cockeyed. One
Yep.
eye is like looking this way, and the other one's like over here.
Wow.
My car reminds me to keep my eyes on the road,
Mhm.
Yep.
but sometimes my eyes stray, and then it goes dee 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 dee, and there's
Oh,
nothing I
wow.
can do about this. It's
That's
just
when you yell at the car.
anyway,
Fix it for me. Fix it.
fix it.
It's wild. His problem is a lot of his problem is it affects keeping his eyes open sometimes, where they're not looking at anything.
Mhm.
So that's half of the time when we're on a road trip, his eyes are closed. And I'm like, I give him one job when we go on a road trip because he hates to fly, hates it.
I'll do it. Can't.
I said, get my phone and take a picture of all the state signs that we cross the state lines. One job.
Mm-hmm.
He will sit there with his eyes closed, and I'll even tell him, it's about 5 minutes till the state line. Okay. Just sit there. I'm like, dude, you have one job.
You sound
I
like
have to do all the driving. That's all you have to do.
You sound like my husband. Like, he can fall asleep anywhere, and as soon as the airplane engine or the car engine starts droning, oh yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes
I
he's
think,
not
yeah.
asleep. Most of the time, probably so, but
I
sometimes
think
he's not.
this is part of my problem. I think it wears me out because
Oh,
of
wears you out.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of the power going. It wears me down quite a bit. But
Mhm.
it was the time when we were actually moving here, and I decided to drive for a while. There's been clear roads, right? Lo and behold, what shows up? Construction
The
zone.
Jersey barriers.
Jersey barriers on my
Both
right.
sides.
Jersey barriers on my left.
Yeah, he tells me.
We're in bumper to bumper traffic with trailers on my backside doing 60.
Oh, wow.
My hands were white knuckled on that steering wheel doing 62, and I'm like, get me through this, get me through this. 5 minutes through, I got off the road. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. It's yours. Good luck.
Yeah, he's like, I'll help, I'll drive, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I get a break.
Not the place.
I was more white knuckled than he was when we came across the Jersey barriers, and all I could see was him twitching in the car going boom or boom, and I'm like, ah.
And it wasn't for just 1 mile. It was about 10 miles worth of that. So it's forever. And I'm like, this is never gonna end. I'm like,
it was wild.
I'm in trouble. I'm like, I'm screwed. No. Jeez.
So now every time we're on the road, we come across construction. I said, you want to drive? No.
She wouldn't let me anyway. She'd have a panic moment.
Anyway, Juju's here. And Evelyn says to you, do not fall asleep while woodworking, please. All 10 fingers. Hello, Juju. And Angel has a question for you, Dr. Childers. Sure. Would chiropractic and massage acupuncture techniques be beneficial at all?
Maybe. One thing it can do is relax those muscles. So I'm sure I would feel better. And I know that when I had physical therapy, there was a time when she adjusted my neck and I didn't see double for 3 months. So yeah, I think there are some things, but the problem is that my neck has so much arthritis in it that it has a lot of like bone spurs and things in there that make it to where it can get set and then it easily gets unset again. So I'm looking at my options, but that's a real good question, I think. Yeah. Acupuncture, I've never tried. I want to. I plan to.
Oh, he would never. He hates needles.
Oh, really?
There's no way.
Uh-huh.
That is not bragging, Brian. That is caring. We need more people like you in this world.
Thank you.
Brian and Cindy are definitely God's gifts to each other. You know, it's funny because when we met, and I say this all the time, my mom died in 2002, right after she turned 74. We met in October 2003.
Ah.
And I found out his birthday is the same day as my mom's.
Oh, wow.
I said, my mom sent him to me.
Wow.
We had both been through 2 previous marriages. Both of mine were really not good. Mm-hmm. His first one was dumb. His second wife passed away of cancer.
Yeah.
So it's like, 3rd time's a charm. We met online at a dating site, no less. And we've been married now 21 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
So, thank you. Can I ask the chat an off-topic question? Does anyone know anything about video cameras in the GoPro action type vlogging style? I do not. I use my phone for every stinking thing.
She's got a vlogging camera. She won't use it. that bad. Steph
Juju,
could.
ask Amy. Amy, if you haven't answered this, I don't know what's wrong with you. Brian and Ann are both inspiring with their positive attitudes.
Oh, thank you, Sherry.
Absolutely.
You have to. You have to. You never get through life. You won't make it.
Sherry said, my ex was a letter carrier. He got MS, couldn't hold the mail anymore. They don't let you cross craft. Brian knows what that means.
Yep.
So he was forced to disability retire.
Mm.
Yeah, that's like Brian was.
That's really
And they were supposed to be training him for supervisor, where he wouldn't have had to go out driving, and he would have been fine. They went over top of him, or not over top of him, but they went around him and started training somebody else who was not nearly the personable employee that he was. And that was an aggravation to him back then. That was ridiculous. He would come home so angry so many days, and whew.
Yeah, but I don't think that employees like you, Brian, come around that often. You might know some people there that have positive attitudes,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that you also know people that are less fit for the task.
Oh, it was brutal some days, you know.
There were a ton. They were just there to make their
There
paycheck.
there were 20 of us. There were
Right.
20 in the office, and
Right.
I was one of the few that could actually do it every day of the year without help. Without help. That meant putting it, because I had to put everything up on the rack, letters, the magazines, the packages, put them in order, get them to the truck. At Christmas time, people got help, and they were always complaining. They were all smoking cigarettes. They'd walk across the parking lot, Dunkin' Donuts 3 times an hour. It's like they weren't doing their job, but they're complaining they need help because they can't do it. I did it all by myself. I didn't ask, rarely asked. And there were a couple of times. I used to work Sundays and overtime during Christmas season. It was double time. And with packages, probably twice a month. And my boss looked at me one day. She says, do me a favor. She says, take your time. She says, I don't want to see you back here before 4. I looked at her, I said, she says, take your time. She said, I don't care if you stop on the side of the road and take a nap. She says, don't come back before 4 o'clock. She says, everybody else get out of here. She says, I got all day. Take your time. She didn't care because she knew I was busting my butt. And she's like, I want you to have the money.
Now,
You know,
they
'cause
were
we're getting paid
salaried
quite well.
employees.
So,
Yeah.
But when it came to overtime, that was the only time they could actually make extra money. And then during
It
Christmas
sounds like-
season, they
Christmas
allowed for
season, yeah.
some.
But it sounds like she was smart enough to know that she needs to take care of a good employee.
She was. They knew it. They,
Kathy?
you know, yeah. Well, both of them. Cindy did the same thing.
Sure.
They kid around with me a lot, and you know, we were like friends, really close. Kathy and I were. We were really, really close as for things we said and things we did, and where comments were made that we shouldn't have made in the office and stuff, but we were just cracking up and laughing at each other because we knew it was just joking and it wasn't serious, and it made the job fun. When your boss looks at you and says, you know, I really appreciate you, and she means it, you can tell. You can tell. And I felt it, you know, I knew I was. And like I said, she was really hurt when I had no choice but to leave. She didn't want me to go. And she was there when she said it too. She's like, I don't
After
want to
his
go.
accident, he would want to
Yeah.
go and stop and see them all. And once he could actually be able to walk. So we would drive up there and he would go in. We'd sit in the back and talk to his postmaster. And she was like, are you able to come back? And, you know, I don't think she grasped the whole idea of the dystonia was a big part of the reason, not just the fall.
I see.
But I think that was a big part of it. And because he was such a good he is such a good person that.
Yeah, I mean, I got so many sick days, and we were actually one of the offices, one of the agencies. We could rack them up and stack them and save them. You know, I didn't call in sick. Even when I was sick, I went to work. I felt better. It went away. I had so much time banked up when I had no choice to retire. I had, wasn't 3-4 months worth of paycheck, full pay, because I had that much time. I was like, holy mackerel! I got 5 weeks of annual time a year, which is my vacation time. I must have had 7 weeks because I didn't use it. I didn't use it all. You know,
I
was
would.
like,
He
well,
would not. He would get up in the morning. There were times he says, "I really don't feel too good." I said, "Well, then call out."
I can't.
He's like, "No, I'm not going to do it.
I
I'm
couldn't
going
do
to
it. I went
work."
to work. I felt better. You know, once I get up, I got
Like,
better.
you crazy.
I actually had to be really down and out, like letting go out of throwing up or something for not going in. But that wasn't me. It was like, yeah, I'll get better. I'll be fine. Bring my coffee, and I was happy. You know.
I think it's really. I mean, there's so many different kinds of work out there, but to find work that you fit and it fits you, yeah, that's it's it's all too infrequent.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those jobs where
Yeah.
it's perfect. I mean, it's like going to work but not going to work. You know, I didn't care
Right,
if I was there
exactly.
for 12 hours. I didn't care if I was there for 4 hours. And I had some day I
Yeah.
was only there for 4 hours and got paid 8. But you know, I just loved it. It was me. It's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I actually found it. Not too many people do that.
I can
They
He
really
identify
do.
told,
with that.
he told his parents when he was young,
Yeah.
"When I grow up, I want to be a mailman."
See? Kids often know that. I know, I told you I'm a child psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Kids often know that, and we don't listen to them.
No.
But when that little kid tells you, "I wanna study bugs," you know, there's like a budding scientist there. When a kid tells you they wanna be a mailman or a fireman or do some kind of service work, there's someone who wants to do service work, and we
Yeah.
should, encourage that for as long
Yeah,
as
you
they're
should never
interested.
discourage anybody from what they want to do. Instead,
Yeah.
encourage them to do their best. It's
Mhm.
like we have a grandson who is avid at baseball,
Mhm.
and he's 16 now. He'll be a junior, which is when all the big shots are going to be watching.
Mhm.
And I can't instill in him enough how important his grades are.
Mhm.
And he's slacking in high school. And I'm like,
Oh.
dude, you can't do this.
Mhm.
I said, I am your biggest cheerleader with baseball,
Mhm.
but I'm also going to be your biggest pain in the butt if you don't get your grades.
Uh-huh.
So, you take it for what it's worth,
Yeah.
but you got to do this. You got to do the work to get what you want. Don't expect anything to be handed to you.
Mhm.
But I mean, when we still lived up there, we didn't miss a baseball game. We didn't miss a practice. He is just phenomenal.
Mhm.
But Sherry, about her ex-husband with MS, his condition caused anger because he lost everything he loved: motorcycle, golf, hunting, fishing, and eventually his wife. Yep.
Tough.
Heard about Brian being home alone when the cat's away. The mice will play. She says, I do that too. Stated line photos. I hate white fever at night. Driving alone is dangerous for me.
Mhm. White fever.
Not sure.
Driving alone is dangerous.
I know nighttime driving can be rough as you get older.
Well, and
I
especially,
don't know
I
if
don't
that's what she's
know
talking about.
what white fever is, but I know I had trouble driving at night when I had some night blindness.
Yeah, the headlights nowadays are so much brighter. That
Yeah.
doesn't help.
Some of them are blue, and
Yeah.
that makes you crazy.
For me, it was malnutrition. I had such a horrible diet before I started. Well, I started with Weston A. Price and started actually eating fat again. That's when I started recovering. And vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, and that's when my night blindness lifted.
Wow.
So I was just really awfully nourished, badly nourished. I don't know. But anyway,
I'm not sure
a
what
lot
white
better now.
fever is, Sherry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what white fever is. Maybe she can help us with that.
Wow, Sherry. Her husband was supposed to have a toe amputated last week. Jim wanted me to share with you all his good news. No toe amputation.
Thank
It's healing
goodness.
good now. He's been on a wound vac, everything.
Wow.
That is great, Sherry. Tell Jim we
Yeah.
said
Good news.
congratulations
Way to go.
and constant prayers for complete recovery. Night driving sucks for me too. Yes. Praise God. That's right. That's wonderful news, Sherry. Yay, Jim.
Mhm.
Evelyn said she had acupuncture as a 10 to 12-year-old.
Oh, what was that like?
Woo!
She
Bunch
looks
of
like she
needles poking in
kind of
them.
liked it. Good.
I wouldn't be opposed. I'm not afraid of needles, but he,
I'm not
boy,
afraid of
he's fun.
needles either. Um,
I used to use a GoPro. It sits in a desk drawer now. There's a term for that. Go postal. Yeah.
That's funny. I use the GoPro when I train my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful. Yep, film the pups. Yep. Yeah, they are
We're gonna
expensive.
buy
I
one. They're
agree.
expensive. They tried with my ex too. He did the Sunday packages too and was told the same thing. It was a bureaucratic BS that didn't allow him to still be able to do the job.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
And like Brian, my ex never wears pants. It could be snowing and he would still wear shorts.
All right.
My husband's like that too. Shorts all the time, every day.
So
Yeah.
where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we're living here in the Portland, Oregon metropolitan area
I
in a
see
little
he
place
was
called
born.
Lake Oswego.
He was born and raised in New Hampshire,
Ah, okay.
and snow
20 below zero with
footage
the
of
wind.
snow, and he'd
you
be
know,
out snow
yeah.
blowing in shorts and a t-shirt
Uh-huh.
and an open jacket. It was crazy.
Remember me telling you that my boss and I had some conversations? That
Uh-huh.
was one of them. They used to go in with the shorts and they'd look at me and say, put some pants on. I'm like, I got pants on. They're like, no, you don't got shorts. It's like, it's cold outside, not for me. There was one day we looked at him and I said, I'm comfortable. I said, you ladies can wear skirts. Why can't I wear shorts? And my supervisor, Cindy, looked at me. She says,
Mhm.
we wear nylons. I said, so be it. If that's what it takes, I'll do it. She stopped. She turned around and laughed, shook her head too. She says, it isn't going to work. I give up.
That's
It ain't going to
funny.
work.
You have
And,
lost your
yeah,
mind.
and there was another time where it was 40 below zero with the wind outside. And I went to load up the truck without a jacket on, and I was out there for 10 minutes. But the wind wasn't hitting me because of the wall. It was just, it was cool. I
Gotcha.
came back in after 10 minutes, and Kathy, my postmaster, looked at me. She says, please tell me you didn't just come in from out there. I went, yeah, I did. She says, how long have you been out there? I said, I don't know, 10 minutes. She says, are you nuts? I literally put my arm up and I said, put your hand on that. She put her hand on me.
Ah,
It
you're
was so
warm.
hot. She
Yep.
looked at me, she says,
Yep.
this isn't right. She says, there's no way you can be like that. And
Mhm.
before she walked away, she turned around and looked at me. She says, I wouldn't need those extra blankets on the bed at night, would I? I said, no, you wouldn't. And we both laughed our heads off, walking away from each other. It's like,
Do you
nope, you
sleep
wouldn't.
hot? You sleep hot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
do
my
too.
personal heater
Yeah.
in
Ah.
the winter. Yes.
No, I'm like a radiator, and so I have something called an Ooler, OOLER, on my bed. It's a mattress cooler, and it runs. It has little capillaries in it that run cool water through it,
Huh.
Really?
and so it keeps me nice and cool, which I
Well,
really like.
we were gifted a while back, and I still don't know who exactly
blanket,
sent
yeah.
them to us, 2 cooling blankets.
Yeah, right.
I don't need them because I get cool.
Yeah.
So we did a giveaway, and I gave one of them away.
Uh-huh.
Amy actually got it, the Rockin' Keto Amy. We have one here. He hasn't used it yet, but man, that thing works. It's
It
like,
does. It
Yeah,
does.
it
And
does.
the Ooler that I have also warms. It'll go up to 115 degrees.
Jeez.
wow.
But I use it to cool me off. I'm usually down in the 60s somewhere. So we know now it's white line fever. It's when the line down the middle of the road causes you, I guess you get hypnotized then maybe
To get
by that
sleepy.
white line.
Wow.
Ah, that would be scary.
Jeez.
That thankfully has never happened to me.
Yeah.
Only Sherry and Jim, yeah.
Oh,
And
your
so
daughter
Amanda
lives
lives
in
in
Portland.
Portland.
Very cool.
Evelyn says, I was sad I didn't pack any shorts for the cruise. I took all the room in my luggage for sweaters and layers and didn't use one.
Ah, My husband was in shorts the whole time. Pretty much. I think he wore jeans once.
Sherry said, my ex lives in Montana. It could be snowing now. LOL. I think the shorts thing is a postal thing. I know several postal employees, men and women, who only wear shorts no matter the weather.
Gotcha.
And Amy said, yes, I need that blanket and use it every night. Hot flashes.
I thought that was called power surges.
I am so far beyond all those.
I know.
Oh, wow. I'm under an electric blanket till May or June, and you all are running around in shorts all year round.
Yep.
Well, is there anything else, Dr. Childers, you would like to discuss? We've been at this about an hour and a half, and I hate to take up any more of your time than we already have.
I think this has been a joy. This has been so much fun, and I've so loved interacting with you and your audience. It's been great.
I appreciate you agreeing to come on with us and the knowledge that you have, and the knowledge that we can, as a whole, can put out about dystonia as well.
Mhm.
It's such a, I can't even say it's rare, but it's not discussed enough.
I think so too. I agree.
Yep. It's the hope that somebody watching this knows somebody that has something going on.
Yeah.
Maybe what we have is what they have, and they can get help and get it figured out before it gets too late.
Exactly.
That's the biggest
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really interesting. For example, remember I was talking about joint hypermobility, but it
Mhm.
hardly ever gets diagnosed. And
Right.
yet it may be like 20 to 30% of the population. I think the same goes for dystonia. We have a saying in medicine, if you don't take a temperature, you won't find a fever,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
If you don't ask the questions, you won't find dystonia.
Well, there's several groups on Facebook about dystonia.
Mhm.
And I started finding them, and I get him in them. There's one group. I haven't been part of it for a long time now.
Mhm.
But this guy, what was his name? He was bringing people into a group to teach them how to relax or something like that, to get through the symptoms and the
Yeah, he's
how
on
the
my
movement and
he's
stuff.
on my friends list, and I am subscribed to the channel. I don't remember his name, but yeah, it's there.
It's an interesting
Yeah.
group. Here, give me your phone.
And what it does is anybody that's having surgery or has questions before the surgery, you can ask, and we'll give you answers. To give you a little bit of help to get through it, what you're gonna go through. A lot of them ask, like, how long after the surgery will it take effect, and it's everybody's different, but it's basically when they turn the machine on, then it usually works pretty good.
Gotcha.
What's wild is when I was part of that, just because, there's one called Deep Brain Stimulation for Dystonia and
Yeah.
Tremor. He's in that one. But when I was in this particular group, see if you can find it in that list. It should be in there. They weren't talking about surgery at all. They were discussing how to get through it without surgery and how to control the movement and things like that. But I can't, God, his name is like right there. I don't remember.
Interesting.
I'm going to try to find it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But it was just wild to me.
Yeah.
Well, I know in the Ehlers-Danlos world, there's this thing called Project Echo, and Project Echo is a consultation type service that talks to your doctor about what it is, how to work with it, or even joint hypermobility in general, what it is, what is accompanying it. And I wonder if there's a Project Echo for dystonia. It wouldn't surprise me, because I think what they're going after is conditions that most doctors won't know much about.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me
So it's
see.
called Project Echo. And that might be
I might do a
a
quick
resource.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of the people that are in this group is, they're asking questions like, what can I do? What can I do? And it's like,
Mhm.
should be able to do the same stuff you're doing, just, something different. Everybody's different,
Exactly.
you,
Exactly.
you can do it, but somebody else may not be able to. And it's, there was a young girl
Hmm.
who put a thing out there once, and I answered her as um, something about, the healing process or whatever. And I
Hmm.
said, I told her, I said, it's not that bad. I said, you'll be fine. I said, the biggest thing we get when we're done with it is a major headache. At least I had a major headache. Well, I got four. They put the car on your head and you got 4 shots of Novocaine. And
Yep.
then, there's no feeling in the brain. So I was awake during the surgery. So
Yeah.
I actually heard them drilling into me and putting the wires in and everything else. And
Hmm.
they put one in, and actually they had to move it because it wasn't right. They had me repeat the months of the year, and my mouth was sideways, and I wasn't saying it right. And he's like, "Hold on." So doctor pulled it back out, and he put it back in, and I started again. He says, "We're good." They were
Hmm.
just off just enough, just a slight here. And it's just they ask questions. You just for us who've been through it, just try and answer it as good as you can.
Hmm.
It's but I'll tell you, in the middle of that surgery, I was still cracking jokes because after they asked me that question, one of the guys said, "Hold on a second, we got to do something." And before he moved, I said, "Can you do me a favor?" And he said, "Sure." What? I looked up because I said, "Can you turn the light on?" I said, "So I can work on my tan." And everybody in the operating room just started cracking up, like, "Holy mackerel!" I was like, that was my way of getting through it, was laughter and being
Yeah.
relaxed, and I felt nothing. I mean, I felt the drill actually a little bit going into me, but that was it. After that, I heard him stapling me closed and everything else, and it was like, like I
They
said,
were
I
done.
had that
Woo!
massive headache, and
Yeah.
it lasted, for most of the night. Went away. The next morning, I got up. It was just a little bit, and he looked at me. He said, "You ready to go home?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Let's go, let's go." But that was it for me. Wasn't that bad,
I got to tell you, it does show Project Echo for dystonia.
Yes.
So
All
there
right.
is something to it on here.
Great.
Um,
Great. Yes.
when after he had the original placement of the leads,
Hmm.
and all that, and like you said, they did it awake. He was awake. His neurosurgeon now, he does them when they're asleep,
I see.
but prior
Yeah.
to, he does all the testing to find out just exactly where to place them.
Oh, I see. Where to place all the leads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
he's got one on either side that comes down around the back of his ears and attached to a battery in his chest.
Gotcha.
So anyway, what was it? Like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later,
A couple weeks later,
we
yeah, I
went
had to
back
wait.
in after all that healed,
Hmm.
so they could turn it on and program it and do a little tweaking to it. And there's a funny part, and then it was such an emotional part.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It was the lady that in the neurology department had all total control of him
Hmm.
through this system, and
Hmm.
she's tweaking these numbers. Now he's sitting next to me just like he is now, and I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden his arm starts going crazy, his legs are going nuts, and I'm
Yep.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, are we fixing this and destroying the rest? What are we doing? And I mean, he's laughing hysterically.
I was
I am
cracking up.
freaking out because every other part of him was moving
Uh-huh.
and just like twitching and uncontrollably.
Hmm.
And she's like, nope. She said, we get this.
Hmm.
And he's like, what is it? Would you put as a reference as?
There was a commercial for hotels, a
Mhm.
travel commercial, where the two doctors were working on the guy's brain, and
Uh-huh.
the guy's hand goes up in the air,
Yep.
just out of nowhere. His hand goes. That's how much control she had on me. She could do anything she
Uh-huh.
wanted. But I'm sitting there,
That is
my
wild.
legs going, my arms going, and I'm thinking this commercial. All I'm doing is laugh my head off, and she's over there. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my word!" I'm like, "She's got control of me." I'm like, "Dang, it was
I was
hilarious." Oh,
literally panicked. And I
wished she
stopped
would've-
her. It was like
yeah.
crazy.
She wished she could have taken that back then.
Oh
Oh my
my
word!
God, that would have
Oh,
made for a
yeah.
great video.
Yep,
But
we walked out of that room though. It was like amazing.
it was the
Amazing.
first time. He had his surgery in 2019.
Mhm.
And when we left that office, it was the first time in 3 years his neck was not moving at all.
Oh.
We were both in tears at
Wow.
the door. It was like, holy crap.
Mm.
Wow.
And, as you know, it progresses and symptoms get worse. And, over time it's going to, and this can only do so much, but it
Yeah.
has made such a huge impact on his life.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to know about it. I'm glad to hear about it because I hadn't really, thought about the future, but there may come a time when I should consider this. So I appreciate that.
It's an
Yeah,
impressive
yeah.
thing. I mean, you got to be ready. That's for sure. The morning of surgery. Now, knowing he hates needles, he's got to have brain surgery. He's got to be awake. He's got to do this. He's got to get this crown on his head, put bolts in his head.
Mm.
I said, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" He
Mm.
said, "Absolutely."
I
That's how bad it was getting.
Yeah.
And
I spent what was it, 3 months before that or 2 months ahead?
I don't know.
It was about 2 months away from the surgery.
Mhm.
I'm born again Christian. I believe in the Bible. I believe very heavily in God. I prayed for those 2 months every day. I got up that morning. She looked at me. I'm getting chills. I'm like, okay, I hear. I got up that morning. She looked at me. She said, "You ready?" I went without hesitation. I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Let's go." She said, "You nervous?" I went, "No." I was so calm, so relaxed, and I'm scared to death of needles. I walked in there. I'm like, "I'm fine." I said, "I'll make it through it," and I had no problems whatsoever. So I was like, "Thank you, God," because that's the only way I got through it. It really is.
Now, why can't you do that when you go get blood work done?
Yeah, well,
He has to lay down. He has to lay down to get any blood work done, or he will pass
you can
out.
say what you want. The power of prayer works. Unbelievable. And if he's on your side, you got it made. Like I said, I hate needles big time. Not to get up and just ready to go, and I had enough. It was like, all right, I'm ready.
He shocked me. I
Yeah.
think I was more nervous than he was
Yeah.
at that point, because I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, because it is huge. It's a huge thing, but
Yeah.
it's been such a godsend for him, and whew, the miraculous things that it has done for him. People say it's amazing what technology can do, and they're so true.
Mhm.
And
That's
seeing
so good.
him and the things he's been able to accomplish since then,
Mhm.
I can't wait till the 30th and this new battery goes in to see if it's done any improvement, or if they can tweak it more than the one they now,
Mhm.
or if it's just this one is just because the battery is low, why the symptoms have gotten worse.
It seems like improvements in technology are happening faster and faster.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's
So,
wild.
yeah, it is crazy, isn't it?
There's a lot of brainiacs out there coming up with new things all the time.
I want to thank you again so much for inviting me today.
Oh, thank
Thank you for
you.
showing up.
And again, Andy and
Yeah.
Michelle, I'm going to share this with you because you haven't been in the chat. Shame on you. But it's a good listen to because I don't know. It's just wild.
And by the way, that's the only time she gets me to talk. I'm usually quiet.
Him and I do live streams every Wednesday together.
That's
And
great.
our group have deemed themselves hellraisers, right?
Okay. All
Now,
right. Then.
Sherry, the real quick story behind that, Sherry, Nevada Pup, she had sent me a short video. She lives in Arizona, and it was hailing. Now, my mind could not wrap around Arizona and hail.
And hail, yeah.
So I came into the chat one day. You all right? Came into the chat one day, and I mentioned it, and then one of the other guys said, hasn't shown up today. He must be working. He says, "What the hell?" So then it was like, what are you going to call us? I said, I care so much about this community. I started my channel about 2 years ago to tell my weight loss story, which I've lost 100 pounds
Oh, wow.
over the first 22 months. And, I started in 2020 when the world was shutting down, blah, blah, blah. My story's in there. But they said, what are you going to call us? I said, family, because community means that much.
Mhm.
And then it was like, once this what the hell started, he's right here, Brian. He's looking for the dog because he's been quiet. And he says, they're saying, what about hailstones? Or hail this or hail that. And my sister came up with hail raisers. So
Oh, that's
Brian,
cute.
he
That is
makes
cute.
cutting boards also.
Oh,
And he
cool.
puts logos on a cutting board. He's done one with my logo for the channel. But he put this up.
Oh, the hell. So cute. That's adorable.
So you're now officially part of the Hail Raisers.
Thank you.
All you got to do is subscribe and join us in the fun. No.
Okie dokie. Send me a link.
But yeah, it's been so fantastic to speak with you. And I didn't mean to drag you off topic of your expertise, but I really think this needed a lot of attention too.
Mhm. No,
And
that's what we came for. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much. And
Hopefully, a fun person we can help. That's all the good.
oh yeah, you have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have helped.
Sherry wants to talk about the dog training.
Dog training. Okay, Sherry, it was way back in the 80s, and I had a school called Animal School Incorporated, and we started using positive reinforcement. We were the first in our area to do it. Before long, we were seeing like 200 to 300 dogs a week, and I had a radio show for 5 years, so that was my 15 minutes of fame. And then I got into medical school, and I continued my radio show until I graduated from medical school, but I was in the Air Force, and so I ended up we call it permanent change of station, PCSing to Ohio, and that was the end, and I was replaced on KXL by Rush Limbaugh. So there you go.
Oh, geez. That's her thing about the dogs.
And that was it, and I loved it. So
Ellis says thank you for everything.
Oh,
Such a
you're
great
so
live
welcome.
stream.
yes, you're so welcome.
Thanks, Dr. Childers and Brian, sharing your stories. Andy said, I'm hopefully this community will find more of you and you do more interviews. Please stay online and in touch. I'm so happy to have seen you on the cruise.
Oh, thank you.
Rick, if I ever catch on fire from an electric blanket, at least I'll be warm. Oh, these two are a hoot. Another me too, Lynn.
Of the
You think I live in Arizona. I love the heat.
no
and
humidity.
That there is no humidity. Yep.
Yeah, my dad retired in Arizona. He's no longer with us, but yeah, he loved it. Tucson.
Mm-hmm. I should probably live there too. I can't stand the humidity, but whoo.
Hey,
Cindy
Cindy.
Brighton. Hi, Cindy. Catching the tail end of this, honey. But thank you for popping in. Hello.
All right.
Here's our
And
dog.
this is all
Oh, heartbreaker.
This is Max.
Oh,
He turned 15 the other day.
oh,
That's my baby.
Yeah, he
It's gonna
is.
kill me.
He is pretty much blind and deaf, and
and cuddly.
Oh, big time. He's
Yep.
about as fast as you can be. He's a great little guy. Yeah, I know. You don't want to be up here.
control back. I get that. Yep. Sherry said, "Oh, get on a plane."
No, not gonna do it.
There's this Looney Tune stuff. We are all
know,
proud
goodness.
members of the Hail Raisers. Still here. I was dealing with Jim's insurance claim on a chat with them. Finally got approved. Good. Dyslexic hail raisers. Untie. Oh, Evelyn, you're funny.
Good one.
Look forward to seeing more of you in the future. A ton of us live in the Ohio area.
Okay.
We live in Kentucky.
I lived in Dayton for a while.
Dayton, Ohio. Nice. I'm originally from Cincinnati.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I was able to rewatch from the beginning. Yes, you don't want to miss it, Cindy. Jerry. This is Karen from Low Carb Spin. I'm hitting the like button. We'll have to watch the replay. Yes. And Dr. Childers, Ann,
Yes.
if you like making different recipes, Low Carb Spin has a great channel for recipes.
Okay. I'm marking that.
I'm also a positive reinforcement trainer. I train with the drive and not taking the drive out.
Yes. That's how to do it. Yep.
Andy says, Eaton, Ohio, along 35. And Sherry's from Hebron, Ohio.
Ah, cool.
All right. I am not going to take up any more of your time.
All right.
I want to thank everyone in the chat for joining us. A special thank you to you, Dr. Childers. Sorry. For agreeing to come on and doing this with us. And Brian, you too, for agreeing to come with us.
It's been fun.
Because Fridays you don't typically.
No,
But
my job is to take a nap, go in the garage, and keep them quiet.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure joining both of you.
well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone in the chat, thank you. All my members, I don't have time to scroll it. You know who you are. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel. All the hail raisers, we love you all. And everybody have a great night. And Dr. Childers, if you could hang on 1 second.
Sure.
I will see you all, Brian and I will see you all next Wednesday.